alternate on the raise of every hand.
Bangkok 112 said this is the best game I've ever seen on Live the Bike. Rich rec players blowing the nits off the table. Nick raises to 600 with ace queen, and Garrett flats the button with 6-3 off. Wow. John, I don't know if you know John Cynn is. I'm sure you've seen him play. John, yeah.
Yeah.
John's a very good player. He got 11th in the World Series Poker Main event last year.
Okay.
Send you my text.
Yeah, definitely thinking about all you guys down in Florida that are going to be affected by this bad hurricane that's supposed to be coming. So praying for you guys. Hope everything is okay and that everybody makes it out safe.
So Whitney and Mark says, Ryan, let's hear what GTO is. You talk about it often, and I would love to hear your logic.
Huh? Who said that?
Whitney and Mark. So what we refer to with GTO, and this is MJ speaking.
I don't really talk about GTO much, but okay.
Yeah, it's just Nash equilibrium, right? So it's like if you have a counter, and then we have another counter, and we have another counter, you do that, 100,000 times or 1,000,000 times, you're going to reach a point where you can no longer counter, and that is the equilibrium, right? So that is what Nash is, and that is what game theory optimal is where there's no counters. The best that your opponent can do is actually break even against you mathematically. And then from there, you actually can deviate from those baselines, and by definition, anytime you deviate from those baselines, you're playing an exploitative play, right? So you hear these great debates about GTO versus exploitative, which one's better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's actually, you want to have a hybrid of both, which is optimal, because you want those baselines, but then also deviate from those baselines to exploit on how often you should be deviating and how dramatically you should be deviating. So hopefully that answers your question in depth.
And we see two pair here from Andy and Nick. And Nick's going to bet. Andy's probably going to call.
I think the price of this sweatshirt is like $20 out of $5. Just kidding there. Okay, cool. Got it. Wow.
So we have some action here.
Interesting that John actually calls the river and Andy overcalls pretty quickly, and he is correct. He has top two. Pretty sick that he gets that much action on the river, gets someone to bet and call in front of him. It puts him in a really tough spot, but he did have the best hand and made the right call and takes down an over $7,000 pot. So nice hand by Andy. Pretty weird spot for John in between the two players. And we see a raise with an unknown hand from Armenian Mike. And Bryce calls the button. Joey calls, as does Nick. And Garrett's going to 3-bet. Interesting because Armenian Mike does not raise very often, so I don't expect him to fold here. Armenian Mike, especially early position, he's limping a lot. So he has like aces, kings. Oh, I was just going to. Before we say that, I was gonna say, he has aces, kings, or maybe ace king, and ace king he might be limping. He literally has aces, kings, queens, ace king. Very like 5% of the time jacks, like 5% of the time ace king, and then it's aces, kings, and like not even always queens.
Agreed.
So.
Like half combos of the queens?
Yeah, so it's interesting that Garrett actually decides to squeeze with Armenian Mike as the raiser. Anybody else, I would say it's fine. But Armenian Mike just does not raise from early position very often.
He also
And-
doesn't have a lot of experience with him. I don't think.
No, I think they've played a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in
Cool.
other places in LA.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they know each other.
You know, I was actually under the impression that Garrett plays huge.
No, he plays like 10-20.
Really?
Like, yeah, because sometimes that's the biggest game going.
I mean, their biggest
right?
liability is probably
At a casino, that's the biggest game going a lot of
At a
times.
casino, yes.
At 10-20 or 10-20-40. And so Armenian Mike, first of all, will play whatever stakes are going as well.
Right.
And Garrett will play whatever the biggest game is going. And look at this. So Armenian Mike flats pre-flop with kings. And Garrett checks, and Armenian Mike down bets to 1200 with his, which is a great bet by Armenian Mike, and gets Garrett to call with top here. And the turn's a king, locks it up for Armenian Mike. I mean, he's playing this hand great.
Which thing you think going to win more games?
He's going to try to milk him here and bet super small. But I don't think this is going to work. He would have been better off checking, I think.
So Garrett is a massive professional when it comes to figuring out what his opponent is doing and body language.
Look at this. He bets less than 30% pot here, 1700. He's just trying to milk Garrett. But Garrett is just too good to be milked here.
He's just too smart.
They're pushing back the suspension.
They was saying maybe they.
Armenian Mike's trying to be the farmer here and make Garrett his cow.
Suspension basically, the investigation wasn't appropriate enough.
Oh.
So like, he won the slot basically enough to like sue them for the to fight the suspension in court. So like it's like the Tom Brady thing. Like they pushing back the suspension because, I mean, he has to finish the court case basically. They get to finish the case first, and then the suspension gets served. So like, it looks very likely that the entire suspension is going to be pushed back at least a year or canceled.
Wow.
Yeah, it's such a good hand. So hard.
Armenian Mike not even looking at
I've been
him.
doing a lot of fantasy football stuff this year.
This is so classic.
Shirt's buttoned up.
This is so classic right here, this interaction.
Super Bowl, last Super Bowl I lose. I took Atlanta.
I couldn't believe they lost. I had so much money in Atlanta. I was so happy. I was so excited.
I have a lot.
Yeah, I was risking 30 to win
Singletary was 51.
because I bet a lot on the money line. And then I bet more on the spread and man, I could have hedged off too.
And he just makes the call here.
One thing is clear that Garrett doesn't watch Live at the Bike enough with Armenian Mike in it to know the type of hands he has here. Because
Well, again,
if he did,
we don't know. Oh my gosh! And a 9 on the river here.
oh my God.
Brutal card for Garrett.
Oh
what I was
my
saying,
God.
we don't know the dynamic between the players,
Yeah,
so we don't
yeah.
know if he does or not.
I know they've played with each other a good amount, but I don't know if Garrett's aware of Armenian Mike's range.
And
in
Garrett
these
checks
spots.
here. I'm not sure there's a version where he check folds.
And he's gonna snap.
Brutal. Hates it.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Wow,
and
what a
he's just
hand.
like, whatever. There's nothing I can do. Like, it's just the nut worst card on the river. It sucks.
I mean, he made a really marginal call on the turn. He knows that he's supposed to fold that turn.
We assume
But-
he knows.
I mean, you saw he had a bad feeling about it. He was really just squirming, and he was, asking Mike,
But
like, wow, do you have such a good hand?
What I will say to that, though, is Garrett is very good at balancing that with strength and weakness
For sure.
to get information from his opponent.
But he also knows that if he talks and does things like that, that it doesn't really mean anything to Mike. Like, Mike isn't going to take that and exploit it. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter. Like, Garrett can say whatever he wants in that situation. It's not going to hurt him.
Right.
It can only help him. And Armenian Mike doubles up a $17,750 pot. I'm pretty sure that's the biggest pot he has ever won on Live at the Bike.
Jaden Rowe, what's going on, brother? How you doing, man? From the YouTube chat. 3 ways to the flop here. Ace deuce 5 here, giving Andy the nuts, and Mark with top pair.
We got big huge card lot over there too. If you want a larger card, we got larger card too.
Flop goes check, check, check.
If you want to buy the cars, we got larger cars.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually looking into potentially selling. I was actually looking into selling the card too. So.
I think he's betting 475 here.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do exactly.
How long have you had that business?
Oh, 1979.
Oh, shit.
And he does bet 475.
Established. Yeah, that's good.
Raise it up. 1550.
Not bad.
And Andy elects to check raise here to 1550.
No hell, this is a problem.
Wow. You had it for many years. Yeah, be grateful for that.
Yeah. Long period.
And yeah,
Calls.
a few more bucks than you did just a few minutes ago.
Fuck, this is my money, you give it back. Either you don't pay me back my money.
a few minutes.
And Andy raises and Mark calls.
This is
And
all part
That-
of this.
That money's gone. You're never gonna see
This
that
sucker
again.
Mark drawing
take
dead on the
all my
turn.
chips, give it to you.
Andy with the bottom straight now.
3,750. 37.
Huge bet, almost pot, 37.50.
He's trying to get max value here. The thing is, what do you think he's trying to get value from?
Well, he check raised the turn and got called, so
Mhm.
Mark has a lot of two pairs here. But Mark actually has the bottom of his range, just about when he bet calls the turn and ends up with one pair on this board, I think. I think the thing that Mark might be thinking is Andy trying to push me around and bluff me because he knows I don't normally play this big. You know, I played smaller shows this week. I've played 5, 10, 10, 20 out there. I think Mark is plenty comfortable playing these stakes, but you know, he's new to the show, to this 25-50 group. Is Andy trying to push me around? And that's what Mark is thinking, and that's where Andy gets paid a lot, by people thinking that he's trying to bluff them
Wow,
when
he
he's
calls
not.
the bottom of his range here.
He does call.
He gets value.
And a huge pot for Andy. He wins $11,500 pot.
I mean, combinatorically, he's going to have more one-pair type hands like Ace X than Ace Deuce, Ace 5, Ace 7, Ace 6.
Who's that?
Mark.
Yeah, but when he bet calls the.
I mean, with that exact line, like he's going to be playing more one-pair
Oh yeah,
type
he could have
hands.
like Ace King, Ace Queen, Ace Jack.
Right.
Yeah. Aaron Katmer said, donate money to a casino. No, you're not donating money to a casino. If the people that do support us on here, we appreciate it on Twitch and YouTube. But it is not to a casino. We are live at the bike. We are a company that runs a live stream poker game. We are not a casino. We rent space at the Bicycle Casino to run our games. And we have a deal with them where we promote their casino on our channel, but we are not the Bicycle Casino. We are Live at the Bike. We're a separate company, small business, where we run our own poker streams and bring you these free live streams and provide the content that we give to you guys at liveatthebike.com. So thank you to everybody for the support. Thank you, Jeremy Stark.
Check. $400.
Top set for Joey, open ender for Andy. And Francisco's the one who bets here with almost no equity with Ace King. He actually has no equity. His only equity is a backdoor chop. 9 of spades on the turn. That gives Andy the nut straight. Joey has a set. Francisco does not have a spade.
And it's a spade here, so it's a super action killer from Joey's perspective.
But Joey cannot fold this hand. Francisco will, of course. So Andy leads the turn. I like this.
And he will not be folding for this price.
Joey definitely under-repping his hand, but a set on this board is not amazing.
Might actually induce. No, he's just going to make the call.
River's a queen. That's a brick. And now I assume Andy's going to go for some value here, maybe in the range of 2K. And it's going to put Joey in a really tough spot. He beats nothing.
Bet 2,600.
2,600 for Andy. It's about 2/3 pot. And Joey's been in some really tough spots so far today.
Every time y'all donate to that fucker. I haven't beat him once for how long?
3 months. Carter was in office when you beat him the last time.
Alex Smith never win a Super Bowl, right?
Huh?
Alex Smith.
Yeah,
Quarterback from
26?
Kansas City.
26,
He never win a Super Bowl.
Alex Smith? No.
Maybe they give it to him.
He's.
I mean, if you're Joey here, you can't beat a straight, you can't beat a flush.
I don't think
Andy
he
is
played,
not
right? 'Cause the
playing.
one year he had a chance.
A
he got
worse
hurt,
hand
and
like
they gave
this.
the job to Colin Kaepernick.
And Joey does pay him off.
I never exceed him.
No, we only played twice in the last like half a year.
Nice hand, Andy. He's just crushing today.
Okay.
He's mentally like Amazon Prime shopping right now. You know?
Ends up how to spend the 7,000.
I gotta figure out what I'm gonna buy with this shit.
There's a lot of ways to do it.
Aaron Kapner, they do indeed. I'm not going to get into that, but I'm not sure that you guys understand how the relationship works, but that is indeed what happens.
Raise 21.
Both players with Queen Jack here. Garrett free rolling a little bit with the backdoor flush draw, but they both have trips. This could get stacks in. Turns a deuce of spades. So this is going to be a chop unless somebody folds. And
Go once.
Bryce goes all in and Garrett calls. They're going to go once, and it is a chop.
Wow.
God, he really was spending it. I put in the 6,000 on the turn. He's like, all right. So do I want a new TV? Do I want to like put a down payment on a car? Like, what am I doing now?
Maybe.
Raise 300.
Justin Schachter said, "Hey, was Garrett on Survivor? I recognize him." Yes, he was, Justin. Good eyes. Garrett Adelstein was on Survivor a few years ago. I believe he didn't last long. I think he was the first or one of the first people off. Second one off? What year was that? Maybe like 5 years ago or so, give or take. But yeah, Garrett was on Survivor. You can Google Garrett Adelstein and you can see the pictures and probably some video clips. But good catch. He was on Survivor.
200. Raise
Two pair for John here. We don't know what Garrett has yet.
your card. The raise is 800.
Wow, Garrett with top set. So Garrett raised pre and John called from the big blind. Check on the flop, and it was top pair or top set versus top two. Turn is a brick. It's a 10, and John check raises to 800,
Re-raise. 24 total.
and Garrett is going to make it 2,400. So he raises pre, checks back the flop. Bets the turn, 3-bets it after John check raises. This is a Badoogie board, meaning there's no flush draws. And so the only draws out there are straight draws like 4-6 and Queen Jack. And Garrett with a great spot here. He has top set, and John has two pair. Not a good spot for John.
Oh.
And John calls 5,400 in the middle. River's a 4, So 6, 7, and ace, deuce are the only hands to get there.
Check.
John checks. And he has just under 10K back, 5,400 in the middle. Garrett with top set.
Bet 20.
And Garrett jams all in. And double pot jams. And what hand can Garrett have here the way he played it? Like, what bluffs can Garrett ever have here? Is he going to go nuts with Queen Jack? John and Garrett have definitely played a decent amount together. They know each other. I don't know how often they play, but they've definitely played. What bluffs can Garrett have here when he checks back the flop and raises the turn? $5,400 in the pot. John has 9,700. If he calls off here, it will be a 25K pot that Garrett will win. And this is where Garrett sometimes gets paid with his overbets. Does it sometimes with bluffs. But what bluffs can he have here on this board? He's not going to do it with a king or a 10, right? So he's only going to have a hand like Queen Jack or 4-6. Turn a 4 into a bluff in the river. There's just not enough hands, I don't think, that Garrett could be bluffing with here. John does have a really strong hand with 2 pair. Garrett's definitely not going to have a worse 2 pair. He's going to have kings. He's going to have 10s. Even 6-7 is unlikely. So he's really repping kings or 10s. Maybe pocket 5s. John has a king and a 5.
Not even really sure why I'm thinking about this.
So Garrett could have 1 combo of kings, 1 combo of 5s, and 3 combos of 10s. But the problem is you just have to figure out what bluffs can he have. And that's a really hard thing to figure out here. He didn't triple barrel, he checked back the flop. And this is really strong when he bets turn and then 3-bets it after he gets check raised. It just doesn't make a lot of sense for any bluffs in Garrett's range here. If John could figure out enough bluffs where Garrett could balance this, then maybe he could call with 2 pair. But if Garrett can only have kings, 10s, and 5s, and John calls and finds out the bad news, and Garrett is going to take down a $25,000 pot, stacks John Cynn. Nice hand by Garrett and a great spot. Wow, what a hand. And that's where Garrett makes his money in situations like that. He finds ways to make the absolute stone maximum.
2 big blinds,
I think you
guys.
got my small one or
Yeah, keep the small blind on button.
You big black.
2 big blind, guys.
Just kind of a bad situation whenever that happens. So it's
No,
like,
you have pay
I'm gonna.
no, I
raise
know.
this
I'm
motherfucker.
just saying, like, there's
I'll
always
bet
something wrong.
600.
when that's
600.
happening.
I gotta watch my language today. I'm a little agitated.
You hate winning, huh?
You're a little agitated.
He's the only one winning.
You're irritated.
Are you
you're winning.
agitated? It took
Oh,
so long
Topher
to
Glow was
solve
talking about
this?
Keith, not
no.
Kai. Yeah. Keith got a job, so he hasn't been playing recently. He almost played last week or the week before, but couldn't make it. He'll be back at some point, but he won't be back as often now that he is working. And
Nephew for selling a car.
Francisco is going to 3-bet here with king queen.
Oh,
So Francisco
heads up.
limp raises. Garrett raised out of the small line with 6s. Francisco limp raises with king queen and flops trips against Garrett's 6s.
What's your new other language?
23.
200 cool.
2,300 from Francisco. He limp raises with it. Early position. And Garrett definitely could call here.
Nice hand.
Turn is a 5, and now Francisco with a full house. River is a 3. A bad run out for Garrett. Because he might think that his pocket 6s are good now. I mean, Francisco's hand looks like it could be ace high here. Although most players are going to check back that turn with their entire range a lot of the time.
Check.
Garrett checks. And now when Francisco bets this river, the thing is, what hand is he going to limp raise with and then bet this river with?
I think I have the second best hand, Francisco.
Like, he could have aces and queens, he could have a king, jacks even. I mean, he's going to have all those hands. If he had ace high, is he really going to turn this hand into a bluff and bet this river? He's not going to have any queen high hands where he's going to bluff this river, because what queen high hand is he really going to limp raise with, right? I mean, he did do it with king queen, which is not a great hand, but is he really going to limp raise with queen jack, queen 10? Unlikely. And so if you're Garrett, you got to think he shouldn't have any ace highs.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going to have any 7s, 8s, 9s, probably not even a hand like 10s. And so he's
I
really
always pay
saying
you
I
off,
have
huh?
aces,
Every
queens,
time.
jacks, or a king.
Every time.
And
This is one of
that's
those
a
ones
decent
where
amount
I
of value
really
hands there
wanna
and not
make the
really any
raise.
bluff hands that you
I feel
can
like
think
it's
of.
No matter what, I'm not going to. Though.
He's not going to have a hand like pocket 4s where he's counterfeited.
You know what I'm saying, man? Sometimes, like, no
Yeah.
matter what, like, whatever I do, it's gonna be the wrong thing. I think. Francisco, do you have a queen in your hand? Just one queen? By chance? I just think you have it.
He does have a queen in his hand. The answer is not go fish.
I don't know. Probably just so bad at folding. Probably just pay you off again here. Just end it. I call.
I have a king.
Jeez, even's better. Even better. Nice. 8,000.
Yeah.
So it's 8,000, not 7,000? The bet on the river? On the Garrett and Francisco, we said 7,000. I think it was actually 8,000. And so a $25,000 pot goes to Francisco from Garrett.
Like whatever, you have to fold one time. I'll bet 800.
800.
Garrett raising it up to 800 in the big blind with 8-9 of diamonds. And Francisco, his nemesis, wakes up with pocket aces in the straddle. This is a 25, 50, 100, 200 hand. Double straddle. And wow, what a spot for Francisco.
He's got me. Every time he knows. Never fold. Can't fold. Okay.
He made it 3,500.
Okay. I'll match it.
Call.
Nice hand, buddy.
Francisco makes it 3,500, and Garrett's going to call with 8-9 of diamonds.
See you, Mike.
7,000 in the middle, and 2 pair for Garrett against Francisco's aces. Garrett is in the lead right now. Great flop for him. We could see a huge pot here.
Bet is 9K.
9,000 he bets into a $7,000 pot. Wow, this is already a massive pot. A huge bet from Francisco. And Garrett's not folding, but he's trying to figure out how to play this one. Does he just call and check the turn? Does he call and lead the turn? Does he check raise here?
Call.
And he just calls.
Cinch, okay.
Francisco with 15K back, 25K in the middle. Oh, a queen on the turn is the worst card for Garrett.
Check.
And that's why he just calls the flop to hope that an ace, king, or queen doesn't come on the turn. Potentially bad cards. And Francisco is going to go all in here.
How much is that?
And what a bad turn card for Garrett.
15,400.
That's annoying.
$15,000 shove. If Garrett were to call somehow, it would be over $55,000, $56,000 in the pot. What a painful turn card for Garrett here.
You almost there? So I'll meet you in the back.
Francisco, you've made so many 3 of a kinds against me. Did you make another one? $15,400. Sorry guys, 2 seconds on this one. Sorry, I can't decide. I don't know.
And Garrett having a hard time giving this one up. His hand got counterfeited, and he still doesn't want to fold.
To do. Give me 30 seconds, guys, at the most. Sorry, I'll decide within 30 seconds. Usually never take this long. probably not going to put any more money in here. You got to try and talk me into this one.
Ace king, show the bluff.
Where's that?
Ace king, show the bluff. He doesn't show, he had it. I thought for sure you were gonna throw it over like a boss.
And Francisco takes it down, and he's now sitting with a $40,000 stack after winning that hand with pocket aces.
I don't have queen.
Oh, no queen.
I believe
No,
that.
no queen.
I believe that.
Wow.
Oh, we're not doing 25?
51
Especially
to-
like when it's five-handed, I think.
3
4
blinds
blinds is a little much.
Yeah, better. Now you're on there raising every hand.
Bangkok 112 said this is the best game I've ever seen on Live the Bike. Rich rec players blowing the nit off the table. Nick raises to 600 with ace queen, and Garrett flats the button with 6-3 off. Wow, that is very ambitious. Garrett, did he look at his hand? He just flat 6-3 off. Wow. Flop is ace, jack, 6. Bottom pair for Garrett, top pair for Nick. And Garrett's gonna call. Turns a jack. $1,200 from Nick.
Raise it up, 5,000.
And Garrett's gonna raise with 5,000 to 5,000. Turns his bottom pair into a bluff here.
I come back after I was.
Doesn't think that Nick has a lot of jacks.
It's a big game. It's easy to swing big. Especially
He blocks pocket sixes.
5,000.
Nick could have aces.
just feel
Could have a jack, but all those hands are very unlikely. And the river's a 5 of diamonds. Could could Nick have a flush? Could Nick have a full house? Could he have a jack? There's 13,500 in the middle. Garrett for sure is no good here. He knows that. That his bottom pair is no good, which is now second for the bottom pair. His 6 is no good.
What they play this week?
Can he get Nick off of ace queen on this board? Nick has a queen of diamonds in his hand, so he blocks diamonds.
which there's, I mean, the
He
spread
blocks
effect
some
is saying
combinations
that-
of jacks, ace jack and queen jack.
Trouble now.
But Garrett could certainly have jack 10 suited, king jack suited, pocket sixes.
Pull up here, Joey. I'll move the 2 seat. You can
All
sit
in.
right there.
And Garrett is going to shove all in. 13,500 in the middle, and Garrett is going to bluff shove. Wow. Nick has over $25,000 in his stack, and Garrett jams all in. Wow. This is sick. If Nick were to make the correct hero call here, this would be a $64,000 pot, but he does fold, and Garrett is going to take it down.
Yeah, okay.
That's a lucky dog. That's a lucky dog right there. Oh my God, look at that.
Wow. Garrett is a sick one. Garrett with kings again here. He 3-bets to 2,100. He's had kings a few times today.
You're like hoping to have a 7.
Francisco with king 10 of clubs, and Joey with 6-7 of
Don't
diamonds.
Well, I'm gonna
Don't fold.
I'm gonna listen to it. I really like my hand.
Heads up.
And Garrett convinces Francisco to call. He says, don't fold. Francisco says, I really like my hand.
Because you guys can read.
Oh, and king on the flop, but the ace is a bad card. I mean, from Garrett's perspective, it's a really good flop. Garrett has middle set on an ace-high board. Francisco could easily have an ace. From Francisco's perspective, he has middle pair, a backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. It's a good enough hand to call this flop with, but it might not be a good enough hand to call 3 streets with.
False.
And that is a good sign for Garrett when Francisco calls there. Turn is a 4 of clubs. Wow. And so Garrett has kings full, and Francisco has a pair and a nut flush draw. Hold on, guys. This is going to be a big hand. You don't want to go anywhere. Grab your popcorn. This is where Garrett makes some of his money back from Francisco that he gave to him on previous hands.
Dogs good luck too.
Can I take a picture of it?
Yeah,
My family here like love dogs. And
That
they're gonna
is
shit when they see it.
8,000.
Well,
And
if you want,
Garrett-
you can also follow his Instagram.
Bombs the turn.
Yes.
8,000 into 8850 with a full house. A lot of less experienced players are going to bet small here or are going to check this turn when they have a full house. But Garrett, you know, he knows his opponent's range. He knows his opponent. And he's able to just overbet this turn almost. Almost full pot. 8,000 into 8850. If Francisco calls, there's going to be 25K in the pot going to the river. And it's really hard for Francisco to fold here when he has a middle pair and a nut flush draw, and he's going against a crazy player like Garrett, who he has a ton of history with.
Calls 8,000.
And he does call. 25,000 in the middle, guys. And Francisco has 27,000 back. The river is a 10. So Francisco has 2 pair, but there are 2 4s on the board. So it's not a good 2 pair. He can't even beat an ace. Based on how Garrett plays some of his past hands, I expect him to jam here. I mean, he could bet small, something like 8K, and for sure get paid. Not for sure, but for sure get paid against an ace most of the time. Or he could overbet jam like he normally does and polarize his hand and try to get paid by an ace.
Was good. He was good for a long time, man.
Who's this?
Tracy McGrady.
Oh.
T-Mac was like
It's hard to put Francisco in a good enough hand to call here.
He just got him.
Oh my gosh.
Did he get hurt?
He got hurt. Yeah, he like blew his knee or something. He was just never the same player afterwards.
Could he have
Grant Hill kind of thing.
one of the 2 combos of ace-4 suited? Could he have 4-5 suited? Could he have
Yeah, he's got
queen-jack of spades? Queen-jack
He's
of
really good,
clubs?
All in. Player goes
Could he
all in.
have ace-jack, ace-queen, ace-10? Those are the types of hands that Francisco's hand looks like. He happens to have king-10 of clubs, which is a worse hand than all of those hands. So this is nowhere near one of the best hands Francisco is going to show up with here on this river. But he knows Garrett's crazy. He knows Garrett's crazy enough to make this bluff. He knows that Garrett just pulled off a similar bluff against Nick. And wow. If Francisco were to call here, it would be an $80,000 pot. It would be one of the biggest pots in Live of the Bike history, for sure the biggest pot in a 25-50 game, if Francisco were to make this hero call. I would be shocked if Francisco made this call. I think he's going to lay it down. I don't think he's going to hero call for 27,000, but he's going to think it through. He blocks kings. He blocks 10s. Garrett happens to have kings, but there's only one combination of kings. Garrett's never going to have 10s, so that's irrelevant. He loses to aces. He loses to ace-king. He loses to a random 4. He loses to queen-jack that barrels. He only beats random air bluffs. Right, Francisco can't beat top pair, some people are saying in the chat, but Garrett is not repping just an ace here. with this line over jamming river, he's not going to have ace queen or ace jack. So that's out of the question. He's repping a polarized range here, 3-betting, triple barreling over jamming river.
Somebody over there.
He's saying he has a 4.
Joey, how much you get to
Maybe ace king is the worst hand he could have.
1,500. The shipping is like
Queen jack, pocket kings, pocket
buy a
aces.
lot of them with that, with the pot dice.
And he makes the fold.
Do they all look like that if we cut them?
And Garrett is going to take it down. And so Garrett's stack grows to almost $78,000. So Garrett has just had some 6 swings tonight. All of a sudden, he's up $18,000 or $19,000 in the session.
Why is it bad?
That's like the cutest dog ever.
You and me, my
Same deal.
friend.
Call.
I'm better raise.
Raise 1,000. Call.
Let's see what happened. Flop. Flop inside everything.
Let's see what happens.
Oh. Oh,
Check.
that's
600.
Bet 600.
Ay, ay, ay. Check.
Check. $3,000.
So Garrett made a big raise here from the straddle with 8-3 of spades, and Nick called with ace-queen of clubs from the big line. Garrett bet the flop with a flush draw, and Nick called. The turn, Nick checks, and Garrett bets with his 8-high flush, and Nick turns his hand into a bluff, check raises with ace-queen of clubs. He has 2 overs and a gutter. He's drawing dead.
The card came to go, aye, aye, aye. And then you raised me. Why? I don't get it. Like, I don't know why the hell I did that.
I really don't.
Which do you not know what the hell you did? Why you said that or why you raised it?
All of it.
All of it was so bad. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And look at Garrett just getting all up in Nick, trying to get a read on him. And now he calls.
I don't know.
The river's a 7. And take a look at how Nick looks here. This is how he looks when he's going to pull off a big bluff. 16,000 in the middle, and Nick is going for it.
Bet 6,000.
6,000, and he covers his face.
Jeez.
We've never seen Nick do this before. Wow, look at this. We've never seen Nick act like this. And he's bluffing. Garrett has an 8-high flush. Now with the board pairing, Garrett now loses to full house and better flushes. He beats a straight. He beats some bluffs. Ace of spades X.
Have any side.
And Garrett makes the call.
It took you that long?
Think about raising.
And
Oh my God.
bad news
I
for
feel
Nick.
slow rolled.
No, I was thinking
I really
about.
do.
I know, because I was thinking about raising.
Garrett wins a $28,000 pot, and Garrett is now sitting with over $100,000 in front of him.
Decided it's fine.
Wow, another sick hand for Garrett.